She actually calls it her superpower for connecting.
A superpower for connecting. I like that because she... Have you ever thought about this kind of beautiful but maybe counterintuitive idea about identity? Like how feeling like you don't quite fit in, being an outsider, how that could actually turn into your greatest strength. Maybe even, well, a superpower.
That's exactly the paradox we're diving into today.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. And we're going to explore it through the life and the really groundbreaking insights of Rabbi Angela Buchdahl.
Okay.
We've looked at her memoir, Borderlines, A Life of Dual Belonging, and also a whole bunch of interviews she's given. Her journey is just, well, remarkable.
Right. And our goal here is to kind of walk you through her story, but also use it to maybe redefine what identity and belonging and even being a stranger means for all of us.
Definitely. And she's such an extraordinary figure. I mean, the first Asian American woman ordained as a rabbi.
Incredible.
And now she leads one of the most influential synagogues in the world.
So where does this story start? Her life literally began at a crossroads, didn't it?
It really did. Born in Seoul, 1972. Her mother was a Korean Buddhist, her father a Jewish American. So from day one, her identity was this mix, this collision of culture, religion, race. She literally started on the borderline.
So let's unpack that. Those early years growing up in Tacoma, Washington, she's navigating these two really different worlds.
Yeah, after they immigrated. And her parents, they made a very conscious choice to raise her Jewish.
And there's an interesting layer to that choice, right? Something about her mother's perspective.
Yes, it's this fascinating bit of maybe geopolitical irony. Her mother, as a Korean immigrant, genuinely believed that being raised Jewish would actually help her daughter be more American.
Wow. Okay, so a decision rooted in love, wanting her daughter to fit in.
Absolutely, love and aspiration. But it immediately set up this lifelong complexity about where exactly she belonged.
And that complexity showed up pretty early and quite painfully from what I understand. Like kindergarten.
Oh yeah, age 5. She barely spoke English yet. And the sources paint such a vivid picture of that classroom. It's really the first time the outside world kind of pointed her out as different.
How so?
Well, the other kids, they looked at her, but also specifically at her lunches. She had traditional seaweed lunches.
Ah.
And they instantly knew she was different. And they asked that classic tough question for any kid who looks different. Where are you from?
And what does she say?
She just identified herself simply as from Korea. And right there, that was the start. That immediate deep sense of being seen as other.
But it wasn't just about being a stranger in America, was it? It got more complicated, this idea of dual alienation.
That's maybe even more devastating in a way.
Yeah.
There's this critical moment when she was 7. They traveled to Korea, her first time visiting extended family.
Okay.
She's playing with Korean kids, feeling this connection, And she proudly tells them, I'm Korean. And their reaction, it was just blunt and heartbreaking. They basically rejected her. No, you're not, they told her.
Oof. So not Korean enough there either.
Exactly. She wasn't Korean enough for them. She remembers running back to her mom, just weeping, saying, I don't have a home. She was getting it from both sides, excluded from the community she lived in and the culture she came from. Both and neither.
That's incredibly tough for a child. But didn't that pain lead to a really important moment with her mother? Like a piece of wisdom that guided her?
It did. It became essentially the core principle for her whole life, her whole path. It's beautiful, really.
What did her mother say?
Her mom told her, home is wherever your people are, you can make any place your home. And that search, that quest to define home and find her people, that really encapsulates her entire journey towards becoming a rabbi.
Trying to actualize that idea?
Precisely. Spending her life figuring out how to make that true.
What's amazing, though, is that despite all that external questioning feeling out of place, internally, the spiritual connection was there very early on.
Oh, absolutely. She talks about being obsessed with God as a little kid, talking to God, making up songs on the swing set. There's this deep internal resonance with faith that came way before any outside validation.
But getting to leadership in that faith, that wasn't just about feeling it inside. There were real barriers, right? People questioning her right to be there.
Huge barriers. Even though, interestingly, she was the 4th generation of her family at their small temple in Tacoma. So within that tiny community, she had roots.
Okay, so she felt safe there.
Yes. But the moment she stepped outside that bubble, the doubts often put there by others really started. People question her Jewishness,
Just by looking at her.
Yeah, looking at her face, as she puts it. But others would bring up the more formal issue, the lineage rule.
Right, and maybe we should just quickly clarify that for listeners. Why was the lineage rule a specific challenge for her?
Sure. So, in traditional Jewish law, or halakha, identity is typically passed down through the mother. Since Rabbi Buchdahl's mother was Korean and Buddhist, this rule, if applied strictly by some, could be used to question or even invalidate her Jewish identity, despite her upbringing, her commitment, everything. She was the daughter of a Buddhist mother aiming for leadership in a tradition often defined by matrilineal descent.
That puts her in such a tough spot. She calls herself a weird unicorn sometimes.
Yeah, that feeling of being unique, but also maybe not quite fitting the mold. You have this deep inner faith, but the very structures of the community can make you feel like you don't measure up.
Yet she pushed through.
She really did. Followed that inner call, went to Yale for religious studies, then the Jewish Theological Seminary for cantorial school in '99, and then rabbinical ordination in 2001. That persistence is incredible.
Fueled by that early faith connection.
You have to think so. And this is where her story takes this amazing turn, from the personal struggle to this profound theological insight that really defines her work now.
How did that happen? Through studying the texts.
Exactly. She immersed herself in Jewish texts, the ancient stories. And they didn't just offer comfort, they completely reframed her own experience.
In what way?
Well, she connected deeply with the origin story of the Hebrew people itself. Think about Abraham and Sarah.
Leaving home, going to a new land.
Right. Called by God to leave everything familiar, cross the Euphrates River, become strangers in a new place. Total newcomers.
Okay, so that displacement mirrored her own feelings.
Yes. And then she asked this brilliant question. If the defining act of the very first Hebrews was crossing a boundary, what does the word Hebrew itself actually mean? And she discovered that the word Hebrew, Ivri or Yavor in the original Hebrew, literally means boundary crosser.
Wait, seriously. So the name itself isn't about land originally or even lineage initially, but about the act of crossing over.
That's the insight. The core identity, the existential starting point, is rooted in movement, in marginality. This was her huge aha moment.
Wow.
She realized, as she puts it, that the essence and existential state of being Jewish is to actually know what it's like to have the heart of a stranger.
That completely flips everything. So her biggest personal struggle, feeling estranged, being both and neither, that wasn't a flaw.
Not at all. It was suddenly the most authentic, the most Jewish thing about her experience. It validated everything.
So the outsider experience becomes, what, a strength?
Exactly. It transforms from a weakness into a defining quality. It becomes a source of deep empathy, creativity, resilience. She actually calls it her superpower for connecting.
A superpower for connecting. I like that because she knows that feeling of being on the margins.
She's uniquely equipped to see and connect with others who feel that way, who feel unseen or excluded.
And did this reframing lead her to push for more inclusivity within Judaism itself, using the text?
Absolutely. She points to things like the mixed multitude mentioned in the book of Exodus.
Who were the...
A diverse group, non-Israelites, who joined the Israelites leaving Egypt. She uses examples like that to argue that Jewish identity, historically, was actually way more diverse and less rigid than some modern interpretations make it seem. The stranger, the convert, the boundary crosser, they're part of the foundational story.
That perspective, seeing things from the boundary, it seems like it's really shaped her leadership style too. Now she leads Central Synagogue in New York.
Which is huge. She's the first woman and the first Asian American to lead that historic congregation. It's nearly 200 years old.
And it's a massive synagogue, right, with a global reach.
One of the largest in the world. And they live stream their services to people in over 100 countries. So her voice, her message, it's reaching a truly global audience.
And looking at her book, Borderlines, you can see how she brings these two things together, the personal story and the religious teaching.
Yeah, the structure is very deliberate. It's memoir, but it's woven through with religious wisdom. Someone observed, quite insightfully, that people come for the story, stay for the sermons.
Because each chapter ends with a kind of mini-sermon or reflection.
Exactly. And she explains why. She recalls this great teacher telling her all theology is autobiographical.
Meaning her life experiences, the good and the bad.
Her loves, her pains, her specific feelings of being an outsider, they aren't just side notes to her faith. They are the things that shapes her understanding of God, that allowed her to articulate her theology.
That connection between personal experience and public teaching is really powerful. But how does this apply now, today? Her message about belonging, connecting, it feels really relevant with all the polarization we see.
Hugely relevant. I mean, think about it. She leads a community of 8,000 Jews. You know the old joke, 2 Jews, 3 opinions.
Right, so she deals with deep disagreements every day.
Political, ideological, you name it. And she argues very strongly that places like synagogues or any community center, really, they can't just be echo chambers. They have to be places where people encounter difference, where they come across lines of real difference.
Okay, so how do you do that? How does the heart of a stranger help manage that kind of division? What's the strategy?
It's surprisingly simple, but powerful. Shared action. Serving something bigger than yourself.
Can you give an example? What does that look like practically?
It means creating opportunities for people, no matter where they stand politically, to work side by side. Maybe it's chopping vegetables together in the synagogue soup kitchen.
Okay.
Or sitting in prayer together. Or just sharing a meal. In those moments, she says, the ideological armor kind of falls away.
Because you're just people working together.
Exactly. You see each other's humanity. That shared work, that shared ritual, it bypasses the abstract arguments and forces a connection on a much deeper human level.
So it's like her own experience on the margins gave her the insight that real connection isn't about agreeing on everything, but about sharing simple human experiences.
Yeah.
That outsider perspective let her see the common ground that people inside their own bubbles might miss because they're too focused on the dividing lines.
Because she always had to build those bridges herself. Precisely.
So we really come full circle then. The main takeaway from Rabbi Buchdahl's story is that the very thing that made her feel separate, her marginality,
That became her unique strength. It gave her this special vantage point to see connections others might overlook.
and she has this final, really provocative thought for us, right? Something about how universal this feeling actually is, especially relevant now with so much talk about loneliness and isolation.
Yes. She suggests that this heart of a stranger, it's not just her experience or the experience of specific minority groups, it's actually universal.
Universal. How so, even for people who seem like insiders?
That's her point. She says everyone, regardless of background, she even mentions maybe white men in America, feels like a stranger for some reason.
Like what?
Could be socioeconomic status, a disability, mental health struggles, maybe just a personal quirk or past experience. We all carry some sense of not quite fitting in somewhere, somehow.
So, for you listening right now, what Rabbi Buchdahl is suggesting is that this feeling, the heart of a stranger, it isn't actually what divides us.
Paradoxically, it might be the one thing that universally connects us. It's a shared human experience. And understanding that, leaning into that empathy, that could be the path out of isolation. It offers connection, community. So maybe the invitation here is to think about your own life. Where do you feel like a stranger? Where do you feel marginal? And how might that feeling, instead of isolating you, actually become your bridge to connecting with the wider world?
Grab Heart of a Stranger by Angela Buchdahl, now on sale, $23.95. Don't miss this chance and build good habits and achieve remarkable results. Buy now today.
Like and subscribe for more Bookhaven podcasts.